I'm back. Welcome to the Coffee with Pastor experience, everybody. I'm Pastor Chris. It's good to be with all of you today on not just on Facebook Live, but also on YouTube and on Twitch TV. And I'm looking forward to getting back into the swing of things and broadcasting on the regular. I've been away for a couple of months. And I am just so excited to be able to be back with y'all and to just share some time together. Want to let you know a couple of things that has changed since the last time we got together. First of all, as I said, you can follow me on Twitch TV. My handle is there right below me, Crispy Chewy. You can also look for me on YouTube. At Coffee with Pastor, and also on my Facebook page. And I want to give a shout out to all of my OG supporters from Facebook who supported me from the very, very beginning. And I'm going to give you all a brief history of how Coffee with Pastor came to be for the benefit of the uninitiated. And welcome all newcomers as well. So great to have everybody here. John Apax, I see you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the follow. And I just want to let you know that in addition to the Facebook page and the YouTube channel and Twitch TV itself, you can also hit me up on my website, coffeewithpastor.com. Coffeewithpastor.com. That's a new and updated website that is basically a repository for all things Coffee with Pastor related. You can read some biographical information about me. You can look at some of the other things that I'm involved with outside of this broadcast. There's also a blog that will be updated on the average about once a week. And just check it out, coffeewithpastor.com. Thanks, Jonna, for putting up that link for me, coffeewithpastor.com. You can kind of get a sneak peek of what's going to be happening with this broadcast there. Also want to give a shout out to an awesome group of people that I had the privilege of joining just today. If you are on Discord, there is a channel called We Are One. It is a channel that supports streamers from the relative newcomers like myself to those who have been doing this for a long time and much more professionally than I'm doing it today. So if find yourself on Discord, look up We Are One. Great group of people, very supportive community. I'm privileged to be a part of it, and check them out if you are looking to broadcast in the same manner as I am. It's just, I have been looking forward to doing this for so long and getting back into the swing of things. And if you've been following the blog or if you've seen any of my updates, the last time that I posted on Coffee with Pastor on our Facebook page, it was around the election time, and I was kind of encouraging people, let cooler heads prevail. Let's see what's going to be happening. There's no reason to panic, regardless of what side of the political aisle that you're on. And of course, as we know, a lot has changed since then. A lot of things have happened. A lot of not so good things have happened. So I'm going to get into some of that in generalities a little bit later on, but what I want to do, and really the big change from the original Coffee with Pastor that we broadcast on Facebook Live is, number one, I'm here. I'm here live and in person. I'm here in front of you. Anybody on any of the streams that you're watching on can type, and through the wonders of modern technology, which I know absolutely nothing about, but thank God my wife has helped me out with this. That's John Apax, by the way, if you're watching the stream. I learned a few new tricks, and I learned how to stream on multiple platforms, and everything that you see here, the lovely theme and display and everything else. I mean, that's all her. I'm still learning a lot of what is going on. And thank you, J.A. Gonzalez. Thank you for the follow. We appreciate that. I just wanted to let you know that, like I said, a lot has happened. And before I get into all of what I want to talk about today, I just want to talk a little bit about how Coffee with Pastor came to be. Those of you who are my OG followers, OG subscribers from the Facebook page will know this. It's going to be new information for some of you. And if you are watching, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, type me a little greeting, give me a hi sign, let me know that you're there. And that's going to be an encouragement to me. And we'll give you a shout out and thank you for coming on board. So how did Coffee with Pastor come to be? Well, first of all, as you know, the entire world has been affected by this COVID-19 pandemic that's been ravaging the world since the beginning of last year. And one of the things that I wanted to do, because when the pandemic started, there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of panic that was going on. It seemed to a lot of us, that the world was going to end. And I said to myself, as a pastor, as a person of faith, I said to myself, well, what can I do to help other people get through this time? Because, by the way, I'm not immune to the panic. I'm not immune to the concern. I have the same worries and the same cares as everybody else does. And thank you, Lisa, for checking in. God bless you. I have the same misgivings as anybody else. And so the reason why I started Coffee with Pastor is that I feel like what people didn't really need during this time is a whole lot of preaching. Okay. Now, if you're interested in my preaching, if you go to coffeewithpastor.com, I talk a lot there about the other stuff that I'm involved with outside of this. And you can feel free to check that out. I'm not going to put a hard sell on that necessarily, but when people are afraid, a lot of the times what they want is just to have somebody who they can talk to, somebody that they can relate to, somebody that is going to be a calming voice in a very chaotic time. And so we started Coffee with Pastor initially to kind of provide an outlet for that. And I'm happy to say that in the original iteration of Coffee with Pastor, we had people tuning in from coast to coast. We had people that were listening to Coffee with Pastor from different foreign countries that checked in at different times. And so I really enjoyed doing it. And in what I call the first season of Coffee with Pastor, we recorded a total of 20 episodes, including a virtual coffee house where I played my guitar and sang. And I had a lot of fun with it, and it seemed to encourage a lot of people. And so after the election, it's November, December was real busy for me for a number of reasons. I'm not going to make excuses, but honestly, starting with my birthday, which is the 21st of November every year, from there you go right into Thanksgiving, into Christmas, and there's just a lot going on. And I got out of the habit of broadcasting on a weekly basis, so I tried doing it bi-weekly. And Lisa, you're very kind. God bless you. Lisa attends our church, and she's a very important member thereof. Anyway, so I just got busy and I got to be uninspired. Part of the reason was because I kind of strayed away from what I wanted Coffee with Pastor to actually be. I felt like it got to be more preachy to my ears than I wanted it to be. And I really just wanted it to be, and not that I'm going to ignore my faith and what the basis of that is, because that's, it's so integral to who I am. And one thing that anybody who knows me knows is that I'm always going to be who I am. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to present one face in public and another face somewhere else. And so when I saw that was kind of going off the rails a little bit, I felt I needed to take a step back and kind of reevaluate. Number one, am I going to keep doing this? And number two, if I am going to keep doing this, how can I make this less preachy and more encouraging? Because the further that we got through election season, we got through, obviously, everyone is aware of the events at our Capitol and all of the negativity surrounding this election season, which has all seemed to come to a head. So I said to myself, if I am going to continue doing this, I need to do this differently. And so what I wanted to do is, I wanted to go live, first of all. The first season of Coffee with Pastor was always pre-recorded, and I set it to go on Facebook Live at a particular time every day. It was 10 o'clock Mountain Time, noon on the East Coast, and that's the way I did it, and it was easy to do that because if I made mistakes or if I lost my train of thought, I could just stop my recording and I can edit it in post-production and make it something that would be, more pleasing to the ear and to the eye. So the biggest change is I'm live. And it's scary to go live. Anybody who has done this knows that, it's scary to go live. But I'm hoping by going live to accomplish a couple of different things. Number one, I hope to have interaction with more people through this medium. And number two, I just want it to be natural. I want it to be real. I feel like it loses some of its value what I'm trying to accomplish if it's something that I am pre-recording. Not that the message isn't good on its own, but in a pre-recorded setting, I can't respond to questions in real time. I tried to do that somewhat because I would moderate when the broadcast was going, and that was okay. But not the type of interaction that I really wanted. And so I am live today from wherever you're watching from, coast to coast and around the world. In the U.S., I'm in afternoon drive. It's just after 5 o'clock on the East Coast. It's just after 2 o'clock on the West Coast. And so I'm live and I'm monitoring all of the streams, and if you have comments or if you have questions for me as we go through this process, type them in and I will read your question and I will answer it to the best of my ability. The tagline for Coffee with Pastor, the Coffee with Pastor experience, I'm calling it Coffee with Pastor 2.0, is clean caffeination, clear conscience. Okay? And so that's kind of a function of how I operate, because one of the greatest things that I love to do, introverted person that I am by nature, is to sit with someone over a cup of coffee and have a conversation and talk about important stuff. Okay? And so from the very beginning, yes, in case anybody was wondering, I do have my coffee. It is in a very lovely container that I received for Christmas from my father-in-law. And some of you will remember, if you're OG followers of Coffee with Pastor, you will remember the one-way mug that I would use, and that was part of that's now our logo and all of that. This mug is made by a company that specializes in keeping cold drinks cold and warm drinks warm. And that's all I'm going to say. If they want me to mention the name of their company, then they're going to have to pay me, and then I'll mention it. So if you recognize this container and you know what company it is, if send me a message via either the website coffeewithpastor.com or any of our broadcast venues, and we can have a licensing deal, and I will happily mention your name. But until then, it's just my coffee mug. Okay? What we want to accomplish here is I want to convey positive messages. I'm not going to say, you're going to hear about God, you're going to hear about Jesus. If that offends you, I'm sorry. It's not going to be the main focus of what I want to talk about here, but it is who I am. For me, my identity is not wrapped up in anything that the world looks at, anything that society looks at. So I don't recognize my identity as via gender or via race or anything else. My identity is found in my God. And so during Coffee with Pastor, I am going to make references to my faith, and I will maybe share a thought from the Bible, not because I'm trying to be preachy, but because the most positive venue that I can think of, if you want to experience true peace and true love, is found in the Word of God. And so, for that reason, and you can feel free to ask me questions. I will answer any question that you ask me, as long as it's of an appropriate nature and it's something that you want to know about. I will gladly answer your questions. But I want to keep it light. I want to keep it friendly. I want to keep it in the vein of just having coffee with a friend who just happens to be a pastor, and we will go from there. So, another thing that another reason why I wanted to go live, and another reason why I wanted to have interaction, is because I want to share something with you, and I'm going to be very vulnerable and I'm going to be very bare with you today. But I want to share something with you that might be obvious, but something that I don't usually talking about. Redneck, thank you so much for checking in. I appreciate the follow, my friend. I followed you back, and great. Have fun listening while you're driving home. So the struggle is, for just about my entire life, I have struggled with being severely overweight. And I have struggled with this for as long as I can remember. Growing up, I was the fat kid that got picked last all the time in gym class. And the battle of the bulge from an early age has always been an issue for me. A couple of years ago, I made a very concerted push to lose weight. And I lost a significant amount of weight. And that was very, very encouraging. And I'm thankful for that. But combination of things. Number one, recently, 15, 16 months ago, I moved across country from Massachusetts, where I'm originally from, to Idaho Falls, Idaho, to take a church. The church that I am currently serving as pastor. So there's a lot of stress involved. If you ever made a cross country move, you understand there's a lot of stress involved with that. Number two, like everyone else, when the virus came on the scene, we were quarantined like everyone else was, and so I quit exercising, quit going to the gym for a period of time, and of course, after a while, if you're somebody who's in my station in life, when there's not much else to do, you sit around and you eat. And that's kind of what happened. So I say all that to say that the significant amount of weight that I lost a couple years ago, I have since gained back. And I got to tell you, I'm not into body image. I'm not into trying to make an impression. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not trying to, I'm not interested in any of that, really and truly. But what I have found now at 44 years of age is that I do not have the energy to do everything that I want to do. And that affects everything. It affects my ministry, it affects family time, it affects, one of the things I love to do is, to visit with my nieces and nephews and chase them around and have fun with them. In this stage of life, that stuff tires me out, dude. Seriously. And so I feel like I'm kind of too young to be struggling like the way that I struggle. And so I say all that to say that I need to lose a serious amount of weight. I'm not going to talk about numbers. I think that's a little too personal for where I want to go with this. But I will say this: I have to lose the equivalent of a rather good sized person in as far as the number of pounds I have to lose. And so I'm working on it, and I've started working on it like most people do in the month of January, trying to change some of my eating habits and trying to be more regular with my exercise. And I am happy to report that as of this morning, I have a net loss of about 6 pounds. Now, 6 pounds compared to the number I need to lose is a drop in the bucket. But I am happy about those 6 pounds. And I am happy to share the journey with you, because I know that, not everybody is going to be interested in some of the things I have to say about Jesus and some of the things I have to say about what's going on in the world today. But I know that several of you can relate to the need to lose weight and the need to be healthy. And so I'm sharing this journey with you because I'm hoping that I can encourage someone. I'm not a diet freak. I'm not an expert. If I were, then I wouldn't be at the weight that I am today. But what I'm hoping is that someone can be encouraged by my struggle. Someone can be encouraged by what I'm trying to do. And really what I'm trying to do is very, very simple. I'm trying to exercise more, and I'm trying to eat less. And that's basically it. If you're a praying person, pray for me. If you're not a praying person, send good vibes my way. This is something that I need to get a handle on. Again, net loss of 6 pounds so far. And at least I'm going to try and broadcast at least twice a week. So the first broadcast every week, I will give an update on how I'm doing. And if I forget to for some reason, then you type in the chat box, just say, what is your weight loss at right now? Because I want to be accountable. All right. So that's what's going on there. In terms of current events, I think that what's on everyone's mind this week is this presidential impending transfer of power, and everything that has been happening around that, and the fact that our nation has kind of crossed a threshold, I feel like, with the violence that has, the same violence, because I believe that it's the same spirit ultimately, but the same violence, the same violent reactions that people have had all summer long to the injustices in this nation have now been leveled against our nation's capital, and our lawmakers have been targeted, etc., etc. Another thing I hope to do through Coffee with Pastor is to kind of maybe destroy some stereotypes that some of you may form about me. You can see me, based on what you see and based on what you know just in this 30 minutes that we've been chatting today. You can see that I'm white. You can see that I'm male. You can see that you know that I'm a pastor. The name of the program is Coffee with Pastor. Okay. And so based on those factors, you may make assumptions about me in terms of what I might think or what I might believe, or might look for me to endorse or condemn certain behaviors based on my makeup. What I want to tell you is that in no uncertain terms, and I've said this to my church, I've said this to anyone who'll listen to me, I condemn strongly what happened in the Capitol. I condemn violence in all its forms. I don't think that violence ultimately solves anything. What I also do not appreciate, and something that honestly on a human level really annoys me, is hypocrisy. I think that anyone who condones the violence in our cities this summer but supports the violence at the Capitol for whatever the reasons are, or vice versa, supports the violence and the looting in our cities this summer, but denounces what happened in the Capitol on the 6th of January, is being hypocritical. And I think that part of the problem with this is that there is no consistency, because no matter where you are on the political spectrum, there are people on both ends of the political spectrum that appear to think that violence is justified in certain circumstances, that destruction is justified in certain circumstances, and I want to be consistent, and I want to say that violence is never justified under any circumstances, and destruction of private or public property, no matter where it happens, no matter when it happens, you cannot justify it in one case and not justify it in the other case, or vice versa, and be consistent. Now, I learned from a young age that that violence is not the answer. Um, I guess you could say that I was raised to be a lover and not a fighter. Um, I can't recall. Um, well, I've never been in a fight in my life. The one fight that I was in, I never got to throw a punch. So um, I'm basically a big teddy bear at heart. Um, and on both sides of the equation, this stuff grieves me. It grieves me deeply. It grieves me as a citizen of this country. It grieves me, obviously, as a Christian, as a person of faith, because what I see happening in our country is completely incompatible with what the tenets of my faith are. And so, having said all of that, I wanna just be very clear. Um, this is not justified at all, and frankly, I don't know how we fix it. I'm not sure it can be fixed because, again, you may make assumptions about me. I'm not. I'm not in favor of any political party. I don't. I don't care. Um, there is, and part of that is directly connected to my faith because as a Christian, I believe that I have a mission in my life. I have a passion in my life that completely transcends anything that's going on in this current world. I do not put my faith in the men and women of government. I believe that we need government. I believe that we need just government. I believe that the idea of human government is endorsed by God specifically for preserving the well-being and the safety of all of its citizens. But if you think that I'm a rabid Republican just because I'm a Christian, you would be mistaken. And even though on social issues I may lean conservative, it does not mean that I endorse the Republican Party or the Democrat Party or anyone else. Redneck says it will be fixed one day, but not by us. Only God can fix this, and I agree with that. It's true. Only God is going to fix this. And part of the problem is, and I'm going to probably step on some toes here, but I'm going to just let you know that part of the problem is that as a society, we in the name of not offending anybody, we've kind of written God out of the equation. To the extent that, we say God bless America, and our currency still says in God we trust, but functionally speaking, as human beings, we really don't care much about what God thinks at all. And so, on the one hand, we want to say, God bless America, land that I love, right? On the other hand, functionally, we want to be able to do what we want. And I think that human history kind of shows us that we can't have it both ways. So, what I would say, regardless of where you fall politically, what I would say is this: be consistent. Be consistent. Because violence, and I'm not going to get into the conspiracy theories about, because who exactly it was that did this at the Capitol. I don't even care. Okay, the point is this: it's not solving anything. It's making things worse. And what we need to do is we need to disavow violent protest, destructive protest. I am 100% in favor of the First Amendment. And the same First Amendment that gives me as a Christian the freedom to practice my religion as I see fit is the same First Amendment that allows people to assemble peaceably and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay? So I'm very much pro First Amendment. I think that, and there are injustices in our country. And in certain pockets of our country there is racism and there is bigotry. And people are being oppressed in various situations and circumstances that that are not adequately. So when those things happen, then yes, people should be able to peaceably gather and should be able to hold rallies and should be able to let their voices be heard, and nothing should come against that. Okay? But there is a line, again, my opinion, when you start to bust out windows, destroy businesses, or in the case of what happened, week 10 days ago, when you storm a federal building and you are destructive and you are combative and you are posing a threat to the safety of our elected officials, that's not cool either. But we need to be able to say that both of these things are not good. Okay? And without being labeled as one thing or another and saying, well, you're this or you're that. No, I'm a decent human being that wants to live in a society that will allow me to be who I am and will allow others to be who they are, and living together without anybody's rights being infringed, whether it's the right to assemble and to petition for a redress of grievances, or whether it's the right to worship and to gather and do the things that for committed men and women who are trying to follow God, or whichever God they follow, be able to gather and to practice their religion freely. So I hope, have a drinking problem. So I hope that that kind of makes it clear where I stand. And you may agree, you may disagree, but there you have it. Let's make it safe, and let's make it free for everybody, and not privilege one group over another group, and not justify it in one place and denounce it in a different place. All right. Anyway, I appreciate everybody being on. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the follows. Thank you those who are contributing to the conversation. Yep, Redneck, you're absolutely right. The division and the finger pointing, that's how we got here in the first place. I want to let you know something also too from a historical perspective, right? And I'm from Massachusetts, and years ago, the Speaker of the House was one of the representatives from the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a man by the name of Tip O'Neill. And the President of the United States, as you may know, when Tip O'Neill was Speaker of the House, was Ronald Reagan. And Tip O'Neill was a Democrat, and Ronald Reagan was a Republican. And of course, there are different ideologies, and there are different, different viewpoints and all of that. And Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill were diametrically opposite politically, but they were good enough friends personally that they could work together and get some things done for the country. And I'd really like to go back to those days where Republicans and Democrats can work together and actually get some things done that are going to benefit us as opposed to some of the passive aggressive behavior that's going on in government today, where if one side is in, then they just ramrod their agenda through, and they don't work with anybody, and if the other side is in, they ramrod their agenda through and don't listen to anybody. And so I kind of like to go back to the days, and of course, as a Christian, as a conservative, there's some things that I would like to see. There are some things I'd like to see happen. I wish that the government would take a little bit of a stronger stand on some things than it currently does. I have my opinions like anyone else, but I also understand that I can't foist my opinions about anything on a nation of 330 million people. And the beauty of it, the beauty of this nation, the United States, is that we're supposed to have the ability to disagree and to make our viewpoints known without it being this major issue, right? So, anyway, enough about that. If you're a praying person, pray this week. Pray tomorrow. Pray that there's no more violence. Pray that we can have this transfer of power, that it happens peaceably, and that like the will of the Lord be done. Okay, that's what I would say to all of us. I want to share a thought. I have been told, and I've done a little bit of research, and some of you might know that I'm currently pursuing a Doctor of Ministry degree, and trying to get through that coursework, and I have a long way to go. But something that I've learned in talking with people and the research that I've done, there are a lot of people in the world, they like what some of the things that Jesus had to say, but Christians give Christianity a bad name. You know what I'm saying? It's like, people are okay with Jesus, but they're not okay with Christians. So what I want to do is, I want to just talk about some of the things that Jesus said, and I think that all of us can kind of get behind. And I'm reading a scripture from the Gospel of John, chapter 13, verse 34 and 35. And if you've ever read the Bible, a lot of Bibles have the words of Jesus in red letter. If you have a red letter Bible, this is red letter. This is the words of Jesus. Jesus says this. He says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you." And then it says in verse 35, "By this will all know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." And I'm going to tell a little bit on us being Christians, conservative Christians, for a minute. A lot of times we get so caught up in being right doctrinally that we forget the commandment of Jesus to love number one, to love each other. I mean, if you've ever been around churches for any length of time, you know that occasionally, some groups of Christians even have difficulty loving the people they're going to church with, right? But Jesus didn't say that we would be known by our doctrine. Jesus said that we would be known by the love that we show for each other and by the love that we show to the world. And a lot of times we forget that because we prioritize being doctrinally correct over, an aspect of what I consider basic human decency, which is to show love for people. I think just about every religion has a commandment about how to treat other people, right? I think we need to learn how to love people. And of course, I'm not going to be disingenuous. I definitely have doctrine and I teach doctrine and I think doctrine is important. But part of that doctrine is what Jesus himself said. Jesus himself said to love people. And that's got to be the basis of every conversation that we have. That's got to be the basis of every interaction that we have. If we don't love people, it doesn't matter if our doctrine is right. Nobody's going to listen to us. Okay? And frankly, people go where they are loved. Okay? People, there's enough hard selling in the world, right? The world is full of hustlers. And hustlers are going to hustle. Hustlers are going to try and get you to open your wallet and spend money or do this or do that or join this or join that. And really, the motivation there is not so much that they really care about your well-being. They want a notch in their belt. They want to make that commission. They want to profit off of your decision to buy or whatever. And as Christian believers, and I would say this to anybody who considers themselves a Christian, your first mission is to love people. Your first mission is to keep to make sure you keep viewing people as people and not as prizes to be won, but as each individual person. I'll learn how to talk one of these days. Each individual person needs to be loved because each individual person is created in the image of God. In that sense, every human being that has ever lived is a reflection of God's glory, because we're all created in the image of God. We're the only animals or the only organisms in the entire universe that we know for a fact is created in the image of God. And so for that reason, every human being, regardless of what their sins are, regardless of what their shortcomings are, regardless of whether they're Republican or Democrat, regardless of what church they attend or if they don't go to church at all, each individual person is made in the image of God. And so if we believe that, and we need to practice that, and for practicing that, it means that we show them the same care and the same concern that Christ himself would show. And we know from what the Bible teaches, we know that Christ, gave himself to take away the sins of the world. He sacrificed himself on the cross for that. And in another place in the Gospels, Jesus says that greater love has no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends. And I'm not necessarily saying that you need to go look for excuses to throw yourself in front of a train for somebody or anything like that. It's not what I'm advocating. But what I am saying is that when we approach people, let's approach people from the standpoint of love and concern. And yes, I say this to my Christian friends. Yes, they're gonna say things that you don't agree with. They're going to say things in a manner that you don't agree with. They're going to hold different opinions than you. They're not going to have all of their doctrines straight. They're not going to be like you, because mankind was not created in your image. Mankind was created in God's image. Male and female created he them, King James Version says, Genesis 1. So what I'm advocating for today is I'm advocating for people, for society as a whole, to kind of slow its collective roll. Okay? We have one world, we have one nation. And this is where we have to live, regardless of who the president is, regardless of who is representing us in the Congress, regardless of who's representing us on the state and the local level. We still have to live here. And we still need, if you consider yourself to be a Christian or consider yourself to be a person of faith, then you should consider yourself to be a person of peace and a person of love, and not do anything to make the situation worse. Not do anything to contribute to the division that is so rife in our country and in our world today. I think that just makes good sense, don't you? All right. Well, I want to let you know about also, and we're going to be getting ready to sign off in a minute here, but what I want to let you know is I want to give a shout out to my wife. And the reason for that are several. There's a number of ways that I could brag on my wife. We've been married over 16 years. 17 years. Got married in 2004, right? Going on 17 years. And I'm just now getting to that age where I forgot how many years we were married. Wow. Sorry, honey. But she's very talented at everything she's ever done. As I like to say, only half jokingly, the only thing she's ever done poorly in her life that I can see is husband picking. But that shortcoming on her part is the blessing and favor of God on my part. Anyway, if you're on Twitch TV, please give Jonna Pax a follow. She is doing tremendous work. She is a cancer survivor. I'm not going to tell her whole story here, because when it comes to her cancer journey, that's a story that she should tell, and I shouldn't give any spoilers. But she has the opportunity via the Twitch platform to raise funds for an organization called Stand Up to Cancer. And it's a tremendous opportunity that she's very passionate about. Her Twitch stream is Contagious Kindness. And, whereas I have a Just Chatting channel, because I'm not much of a game player per se, although I do dabble in them from time to time.